One, two, three. Yeah, now there is sound. Yeah. Pavel is my talisman. Without Pavel, I can do nothing. So,
Techniques always resists.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
should
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But now it should be fine. Okay. Anyway, technical issues, as you can see. And now we're ready to start because finally sound is going finally and everything should be fine. And there is no Pavel today with us. Pavel had some technical issues and couldn't join us today. But I have a great guest, Valerij Ledenev, and we'll talk about artist books, but probably not only. Valerij is an art critic and researcher, and we talked to him a while ago about some quite amazing Russian artist books. So if you're interested in that stuff, you can search our YouTube channel and find that talk. It was quite insightful. Nice to have you here, Valerij.
Thanks for inviting me. Second time in my life. Always nice to talk to you about the subject that I like the most.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. So as is traditional in our podcasts and live streams, could you please sort of introduce yourself? How have you gotten to working with artist books and researching them, and uh, in what state are you in now? Where are you? What are you doing? What are your plans? Sort of that stuff.
Well, yeah. Um, as you already mentioned, that's our second talk, and the previous one took place in Moscow Garage Museum, where I was an employee at the library, public library about contemporary art, and actually it all started for me in the art library, among the art books. Um, I was actually working as an art critic before I came to Garage. I was contributing to different media from Moscow Art Magazine to Art Newspaper and things like GQ Russia or Harper's Bazaar or whichever. And I actually, well, was not like a frequent visitor of the libraries, so this domain of libraries was quite new to me. And what I wanted to do is like well, not only working like as a normal library employee, but since it was an art library, do something with art, yeah, of course. And that was my main competence and my main interest. And actually, the idea of like taking on the art books, well, it was pronounced by a colleague of mine with whom we were working in the library back then that it was like that could be a great idea to invite artists to make books in the library. Yeah,
Hmm.
so not only collect books on art or artist books, purchase the already state of the art books from the artists in Russia, so predominantly based in Russia, but also to have something new, yeah, to activate the library in this field. And the idea, well, it stayed as an idea, and the library hosted an extensive public program back then. And well, once we thought that, yeah, so since we have this idea, why not making it true? Why not just organizing that project? And uh, the chief curator of Garage back then was Kate Fowle, who is not the chief curator of the museum anymore. And we discussed the idea with her, and she liked the idea. And I was coordinating that project since 2017. In the frame of the project, we it was called Single Copy, and the idea was to invite three artists. Yeah, so first those were three artists to contribute to create an artist book specially for library holdings. A book that would exist as a single copy only, so hence the title. And we also wanted to focus on those generations or those like communities of artists who were not actively, well, at least at the moment of that moment, not actively involved in production of books or in doing books, maybe with no background in this genre at all, but whose observations and artistic ideas would fit well into this genre, into this medium. And that's how it started. So, 2017, we invited first three artists, and then 2018 there were three first three books realized. It was Vladislav Kruczynski, Uliana Podkarytova, and Olga Dyrgina. So first, the first shot were like first three artists. They all came from Moscow because we just needed to like see how it would come out, and it was easy for us to operate with artists who were like based nearby, with whom we could
Yeah,
meet or
logistics
like
may be
yeah,
tricky when you
logistic.
organize
Yeah,
projects like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we had like an amazing experience with one of the books by Sergei Bespametnik. Well, that one of the most impressive objects on wheels with a chain. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
Pasha was very excited to play with it
yeah,
a
it
little bit.
yeah, it was like 2021, and the book was made in Novosibirsk, where Sergei Bespametnik was based back then. He's not alive anymore, unfortunately. And the book, the general weight of the book, it was like 30 to 40 kilo, and it was very tricky to explain the logistic company that what we're transporting is exactly the book of this weight. But
Yeah.
we managed to do that. Yeah, so and since I became the coordinator of this project, actually, I must confess, without any idea of what artist book is, so just just there, just uh, make it happen. So yeah, I started researching in this field, and because I was actively involved in this project and was famous for coordinating it, I was invited like to lecture on this, or was proposed to make some presentations or take part in special events like seminars or I don't know mm, discussions at the other libraries with artist books, their holdings. And yeah, that's how it started for me, and that's how it came across in my life. Yeah, so it's like
Hmm.
unexpectedly, I would never think that I would like tackle this subject. And I can recall some of the exhibitions that took place back then at the National Center of Contemporary Art in Moscow, like artist book of 20th century Russian artist books, and I never visited any of them. I had to like learn about that already like later from catalogs or talking to people. Yeah, so like many things in my life, it happened out of a sudden. It was never planned.
Yeah. Well, that may be really nice. I just posted the link to our previous talk, and on the preview of the video, there is that huge book Valerij just talked about. So if you are interested in all that stuff, just put this link into your bookmarks, and you can watch it later after we finish our today's talk. And yeah, as usual, I invite all our viewers to post any comments, any questions they have for our guest. And if you would like to share from where you are joining us today, from which country, which city, town, village, other type of locality. It's always fun and interesting to know from where people are watching us. We have our regular Dave Turnbull already. Greetings from the east coast of Scotland. Hi, Dave. Nice to have you here. So, Valery, and what are you doing now? What's your scope of work and research now? You just visited Artist Books Fair
Yeah,
a couple of weeks before. So you continue to work in this area, but in what?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm now based in Germany in a small city called Hochheim am Main. I'm not sure if anyone knows it. Actually, you don't have to. It's a small
I
village.
know it. we,
Yeah,
we,
maybe
we have
from
we have friends living in Heidelberg, so it's pretty.
oh, so yeah, a little bit far away, but yeah, that's actually my direction. Yeah, Hochheim is like a small village with lots of wineries, and it's actually a town of winemakers. So
Yeah.
if you like wine and champagne, sparkling wine, yeah, well, that of Dutch. Maybe then that will be your destination, but not if you do artist books.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I arrived here 2023, and it's Bundesland Hessen, with like Frankfurt being the most like important city of this area, and there is also a small city called Offenbach,
Hmm.
which was historically famous for production of the types of typesets.
Hmm.
There was a family of Karl Klingspor and his brother Wilhelm Klingspor. So they were very active in this field, and they invited many artists of their time to design types for the factory, for the workshop, and it was very famous. One of the artists they worked with was Peter Behrens, and
Hmm.
anyone who was in Berlin saw the inscription on the former building of the Reichstag, Dem
Hmm.
Deutschen Volke.
Hmm.
That was actually made by Peter Behrens and Anne Siemens, so another time designer of the time from Germany. So there is now a museum of Karl Klingspor, Klingspor Museum for typography and book arts. I knew the museum before when I came with a colleague of mine here to Frankfurt for a book fair, and I also visited Klingspor Museum. So when I arrived, I just contacted the colleagues, and I was invited as an intern,
Hmm.
2023, and then I was invited to work on a project about the female and queer tag designers. I can show the catalog of our show, which is now on view at the Klitschko Museum. So
Hmm.
if you happen to be anywhere around, so warmly welcome. The exhibition is open till November,
Hmm.
and um, my part, I was in charge of the historical part of it. I was researching in the collection of the archive of Klingspor Museum to highlight some of the female positions in type design and I don't know calligraphy or whatever fit into that field back then. So that was my primary occupation in spring and summer of this year. And hopefully that will continue next year when I stay at this museum. So I'm unfortunately not yet employed, but hopefully that will come. And I also teach the history of Soviet and official art at Frankfurt University, Goethe University. But it only starts in October, the first seminar that
Hmm.
I conduct
Hmm.
of mine
So,
with the
like
professor.
pretty soon in October. October is already now.
Actually, in a week, yeah,
Yeah.
I should be sitting preparing myself on this, but
Well,
always,
good
I
good
like making
luck. Good
progress.
luck. I hope
Thank you.
everything works out for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the seminar was already full. I did not expect people to show such an interest into the Soviet and Russian art. It's actually fantastic
Hmm.
thing to know about. But yeah, so and yes, so I visited also some of the artist books remain my primary occupation for the time, and I have some highlights for you
Hmm.
to show that I brought from some of the events
Yeah, perfect.
around Germany and Austria and from France. I didn't bring actually much, just good impressions, good memories, but not
Hmm.
things that I want to keep in my collection. Not
Yeah.
because they're bad, but just can't keep everything. Uh,
So, with what would you like to start? With which books and which events?
yeah, so maybe from because I'm an immigrant, I have some publications, some artist publications about the immigration and the experience of it
Hmm.
over time, different aspects of this. And my favorite one is from Belarusian artist Hanna Muraida.
Mm-hmm.
We met in Vienna this year in May, well, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
spring, and it is well, it is in Russian, so I will have to translate some pics of it. So that is actually a set of postcards,
Mm-hmm.
which is called "How to Adapt as an Immigrant." Yeah, how to adapt
Mm-hmm.
in your immigration, and it is actually a game, a board game.
Okay.
In order to reflect on your experience, to maybe come to terms with your like negative feelings, and maybe to proceed some of the negative experience if you have some from as an immigrant. So each card contains an instruction slash exercise, the one that you can do. You can for example, yeah, if you don't feel yourself satisfied with the location that you live in, you may for example, learn something about the history of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it can help you to maintain a small talk. Because it's always like a good thing to insert. Yes, and actually, I live on the street which is called after that and that, and then you have a nice story to tell. Or you can find like a couple of things that you can only do in your location and no other, and that may be very therapeutical actually. And the game was created like in collaboration with with a immigration lawyers and also immigration psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of competently made, and it is designed so that you can like just take this collection of cards, pick up an occasional one, and just I don't know, do something or maybe not to do something.
It
Uh,
would be so useful to my wife and for me when we were living in France because it was a bit traumatic experience for both of us.
I can say that this card, so I quoted this card about your location, and I was actually first very skeptical about the town that I live in, and it caused me I experienced hard time after having lived in Moscow, in
Yeah.
Riga, then in Tel Aviv, so living in a small village. It was very unusual for me, and that helped me a lot. I
Yeah.
can say that I play this game. I can say that I play this game often, but the very idea that I know that it exists and I can use it anytime I need,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually very therapeutical. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy. I was very happy to meet Hannah personally and purchase this set of cards from her. And she also has an English version.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is not only exclusive in Russian. So
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
mhm.
there is a question from Dave, which is quite relevant considering the type of the book you showed us just a moment ago, and maybe I will even add a little bit to that. So Dave asks, I've never been able to find a good definition of what an artist's book is. Is it simply a book showcasing their art? So
Mm,
we already see that not necessarily, because an artist's books
yeah.
may be produced not by an artist. But also, I wanted to that's a question. My question is something we discussed quite a lot on our podcast and our live streams. What is a book? What makes a book? And but I wanted to change it a little bit and ask you if you ever asked uh, book artists this question. What makes a book for them? How they define
Mm,
a book?
well, it's a tricky question. Well, first, it's very basic. Yes, of course, if you study a certain subject, that is very important to look into the foundation of it. But as as everything in contemporary art, you can't even if you find an appropriate definition for a phenomena or I don't know for an artist's book, there will always be a case of exclusions and things that do not fit into this field, into this category.
Yeah.
And when I start any of my presentations about book arts, and when I have to like go a little bit in details what art in the book is, I always quote Lucy Lippert, an American art critic, who contributed an article about art books, I think in 1967, so it's quite an old publication. It was quite a while ago, but she's her definition sounds like that the artist's book is the work of art, it's a piece of art, artwork, which is designed to be a book, which is activated when you browse a book and which can only take uh, the form of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So for which the book is the most adequate medium and incorporation. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
the most fitting form. Of course, uh, yeah. So this definition raises further questions, and many of the artists whom I met or talked to, they have different answers. Well, for me, an important thing would be that, yes, so that you can put this work, exactly this piece of art, like this bookish object or this like book-like object, within the context of the visual art, not only, yeah, of course, because it is an artist book, it is uh, on the one hand rooted in the book culture and on the other hand in art. But it is important that that would fit into the history of art, that that would be meaningful in this great cultural, this big cultural archive that contains the history of art and cultural objects. Primarily like visual culture, yes. So because if it doesn't make any sense being placed into it, maybe it's not such, maybe it's not that they're reasonable to consider it like an art book. Yeah, so it is a piece of visual art, and it has to overlap with the book culture, whatever book is. So book historically took multiple forms, from scrolls to I don't know like uh, collection of bark shreds or whatever. Yeah, and yes, so it's like always in between those two pieces, and in between those two domains, almost equally rooted in either. And for me, it's not so much a question of definition, but a question of discussion. So if we put this object into this context or in another, what kind of meanings, what kind of connections, what kind of comparison can follow? And if it works with a certain kind of, I don't know, like a book, artist publication, or a bookish object, then we can maybe say that we found an artist book or an artist book or another artist book lane between us. So yeah, but basically it's a piece of art, a work of art, which which was like designed to be a book, and it is not a book about the project or about the work or an album or a catalog of works by an artist. Although there are catalogs that are like standalone works, state-of-the-art works, I came across such publications like, for example, Thomas Bayerl, an artist from Germany. There was an exhibition of him in München, 2017, in Lembach House, one of the biggest museum of the city. And his catalog, it contained not only the documentation of the works, the photographs and the text on them, but also his digital graphics as different takes on his works that were into the show.
Mm-hmm.
And those were like separate works. You could see them independently from the show, because I didn't see the show. I only saw the catalog in Frankfurt 2000 in 2023. And that is a catalog which is designed as an artist book, because it can exist, it can be like without any direct connection to the show. So that can also be the case point. But basically, yeah, basically like an independent artwork in the form of book, and what book is. Yeah, also a question. We discussed it recently on a conference in Lyon. There was a conference on artist books, 2 days. First part was like the part of the bigger conference on art history that takes place each 4 years in different places of the world, in different cities that time around and beyond. And the second part was our own seminar with a specialist from Germany, France, Poland, Poland, and other countries, including me. And well, an idea uttered by a professor of the English literature from Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Katarzyna Bazarnik, was that, yeah, we think when we speak of the book, we think about an accomplished information source,
Hmm.
which I think maybe like not overwhelming, but a very, very good definition, or at least a platform to start thinking about the book. Yeah, so that if we speak about the book, we think of uh, of this book as of an informative object. Yeah, so it conveys any kind of information, whatever it is, like visual, textual, tactile, or I don't know, like olfactory or whatever. So maybe those kind of reflections I can propose as
That's
an answer to your
that
question.
that's one of the sort of definitions or ideas that we discussed with the book artist from Finland, Kaija Rantakari, quite a while ago on our live stream, and she likes to experiment with absolutely different formats of books and artist books, and her idea was that the main thing is that these books should deliver some information to the reader, and the reader should be a person who interacts with the book in some way, manipulates it in some way. And but yeah, it's interesting because if we start to limit which sort of information a book should deliver, for example, it shouldn't be visual information for some reason. Then well, there are, I don't know, coloring books. There are still books. And, or I don't know. If we talk about audiobooks, are they books or are they not books? There is a huge, it's a bit tangential to our today's topic, but there is a huge I don't know, fight on the internet, like it always happens on the internet when people say that I read an audiobook, and there are
Mm.
always other people
I
who will
also
say,
say that I
you
like audiobooks.
you can't read an audiobook, but well, well, you can listen to audio,
If I
whatever.
listen to another audiobook, I always say that I read the book because for me it's because for me it's like the very reading.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I would say that an artist book, whatever form it takes, it should be related to the idea of book. Yeah, so what and yeah, the and a book it is characterized by different aspects. One of them being informative, another one being like a sequence of pages or a sequence of like page spaces or whatever. So if even if we don't browse, if we scroll a book, or I don't know, if it's a book object that we can't look into at all, it should be like in a certain sense related to it, and that is what like makes a book and then an artist book if an artist has made it.
Yeah.
Well, of
And
course, I don't pretend to be to give an exhaustive definition. If there are different versions or different definitions that you can propose in comments, I would read it with pleasure after the stream. Yeah.
we have a comment, and I'm not sure I full understand. Anastasia Vita, you're not forgetting as an art critic for a new perspective artist. I'm not sure what would that mean. Uh,
Well, maybe, well, if your question is about like the new perspective of artistic practices, yeah, like for example, today, yeah, we have a lot of have a lot to do with the new media, and of course, the book can also be like new, can be based on the new media. Yeah, there are different attempts to make a book like digital or in a form of a website, in a form of a game. Well, actually, not multiple attempts, but still there are
Hmm.
different approaches like in this direction as well. And yes, of course, it all contributes to that field. But for me, it is more valuable to speak about a particular object and to discuss its qualities. Yeah. So if I have an artist book, which is a digital book or a website or a game, maybe it's better off as a game. Maybe as a game in the field of game design, or I don't know, like whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe it tells us more about like not only that field but also life around, yeah, as if we bring it to the field of artist books, or maybe right the opposite. So different approaches, yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, they are also in the field of artist books, like, or, you know, like recently on the Within Books Art in Düsseldorf, I came across a couple of books made with artificial intelligence,
Hmm.
and that is also a new approach. So of course it percolates gradually also there. Yeah.
So I hope we answered the question, but if not, please add some more information in the comments. We'll try to do better.
Yeah.
Will you show us something else? What else do you have
Uh,
prepared for us?
yes. Well, I can. Well, I have already mentioned the book made with artificial intelligence. It was made by an artist from Germany, Albert Koch.
Hmm.
And so I didn't buy that book. I found another one more like valuable for me personally. He makes actually those kind of small books, yeah, so modest books. It was a title of conference in Lyon, which it was the title "Modest Book" as an artist book. By modest book, I mean it was just a normal codex book, which looks like a very simple, normal, ordinarily printed typography book, which is an artistic expression in the very sense of it.
Hmm.
And Albert Kers, he makes those different accumulations of things.
Hmm.
Like, for example, this book with the artificial intelligence, yeah, I didn't buy it, but I present it all the same. He asked ChatGPT, who is Albert Kers?
Hmm.
And he asked it in different languages, German, Russian, English, like
Okay.
different. And ChatGPT generated a definition of who Albert Kurz is. And the Russian one was absolutely not exact because the Russian version found uh, graphical artist of the 19th century, which is completely a different person. So, but that was a principle behind it. Yeah, a systemic principle of accumulating different things under a cover of a modest book. And in this publication, he collected words from this gesture language.
Hmm.
He collected them from different sources, from textbooks or from compendiums, the words that sound, or in case of this book, look similar, yeah,
Hmm.
kind of rhymes. So they sound similar but have different meanings, and it activates a completely different mode of perception, yes, because we perceive them very visually, and uh, mm, it's we can speak about the different kinds of contrasts, or I don't know, like different kinds of similarities. So I found this book very nice. Hopefully that will be also purchased for the museum's collection because I proposed it for the collection. I also came across very interesting publications from an artist who is originally Japanese, but she's based in Paris, Sayo Seno. And so basically, those are zines. It looks like an art zine or like a kind of self-publishing, yeah. typical. But so this publication is dedicated to female sex workers on the streets of Tokyo, where artist was based herself, and she, as she told me, also had an experience like that. And the phenomenon is very present on the streets of Tokyo. And Sayu Seno, she collected images of those women who work on the street, who work on the street at night, and she crumpled those. So she printed them out, those photographs from the internet. She crumpled them and left them on the street overnight. Pretty much like those women stay, like how to say, like spend the night on the street. I'm sorry if I'm correct. But and they were subjected to like weather conditions, like rain and wind, and so they were worn out, and they basically look like this. You can see maybe the texture of
Mm-hmm.
this sheet of paper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is crumpled. It is not like it's not a new paper, yeah, and the colors also run and
Faded, yeah.
faded, and yeah, so and that is like a visual take on this experience and this phenomena that she presented. Yeah, she also made another book that I didn't buy because it was more expensive and well, a little bit different direction. But she noticed that there are many couples who make sex in the park around Louvre,
Okay.
and she found many used condoms in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So she made small flowers of those condoms and planted them back into the places that they were found on. And she documented the area. She made she photographed the topography of the
Mm-hmm.
place, and she made a leporello book of different flowers locations where you can find them in the Garden of Louvre. So she works very much with this subject of sexuality and of street work and things like that. And it is not only visually very captivating, but it's also very socially, well, socially charged, I would say. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
the subject is very, very interesting, I would say. Well, very like personal subject of mine is not only a book as an artwork, but also a library as an artwork. It
Mm-hmm.
is my lecture and the presentation that I made in different places, like libraries by Martha Rosler, library by Donald Judd, and so there are multiple examples of that. And in Düsseldorf, I came across an artist from Netherlands whose name is Bas Fontaine,
Mm-hmm.
and he's member of a printing community in Netherlands, and there are like 4 or 5 artists apart from him who make different books, mostly of those kind of modern books. And one of modern books by Bas Fontaine is a library of alternative covers. So those are really covers, non-existent covers of non-existent books that he made up and presented under this not invented cover. It also contains this element as a library mark with a finding aid. So it is designed as a normal library
Nice
book.
touch. I,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I had a person on Facebook in my feed who created stamps for imaginary libraries.
Mm.
And some of them were really, humorous and sarcastic and a bit dark sometimes.
Yeah, so there are also some humorous books, but it is actually a library. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a library in a book. A library is art in a book that is art. So I couldn't help buying it. So and another like library slash book slash art is that publication by Malade Edition, they also come from Germany, despite the French name, and it is a documentation of pacifist library. It is a traveling library made by two artists, activists who collect publications related to the subjects of discriminations, war, and displaced persons, and this like human rights activist issues.
Mm-hmm.
And library is traveling not only because it is being moved by its creators, but also because books are being donated to the library and from the library
Mm-hmm.
as well. And the library is never the same; it changes from from one location to another.
Mm-hmm.
And this book, it documents a certain state of this library, a certain instance of it, and I think that is like a unique moment when we can see this library in its unique state because it doesn't exist anymore. We don't know the whereabouts of the books. They may have gone away to another collection, so I don't know, like get lost or whatever. But it is it is actually the whole. Mm, the whole street, yeah, so it's continuous, yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
books from the previous pages, they overlap with the new one,
Okay.
and you can browse it like as if you're reading your Facebook newsfeed or I don't know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Instagram or whatever.
Like a continuous bookshelf.
Yeah. So that was also one of the books that I bought for me. And another thing, which is like quite obvious and quite simple idea, because it is a normal theme. I need to first put it out of its casement. So it was a normal theme made by like a printing community rapid publishers.
Mm-hmm.
They did it right before your eyes. So there were many books, many magazines, newspapers, and things like that. And they cut it in pieces. They glued it together.
Mm-hmm.
They photocopied it in like many copies. They made zines so that you can see it and you could buy it for like 3 or 5 years, like
Mm-hmm.
freshly out of print. And I just couldn't help it because they made many of them. They're all very nice, very good, and it's always nice to have this kind of work in pro or a piece of work in progress that was part of a bigger event that
So
that
you could
that is
experience
memorable for you.
the process of creation of an artist book right there on the fair, or
Artist zine, yeah. So it was like, well, actually, it's very typical for zine makers to make a zine as a very fast communication with viewers, with
mm-hmm.
visitors of an event, and that was one of the instances of that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I heard about this, but never saw it like live. So that was very.
What's the difference or what's the distinction between artist books and artist book and zine?
I knew that this question will come. And the answer is that, well, it's like always like a one-handed expert. Yeah. So on the one hand, on another hand. So on the one hand, so zine is normally very smaller in scale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So artist book, it may be like a very luxurious, luxurious looking object,
Mm-hmm.
very well done with a handmade paper on or different experiments in printing techniques or whatever. Not necessarily, but as one of the versions of it. So zine, on the contrast, is much more simple, and so much smaller, well, much less ambitious, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. It is not so much, well, at least historically, it was not so much about conveying the meaning or artistic expression or like developing some ideas from this cultural archive, if you speak the term, but conveying a message very fast, pretty much like those rapid publishers did, like doing it here on the spot and binding it and distributing it at the same time on the spot. Uh, it is not that much ambitious. In techniques, yeah. So you can like Xerox it or photocopy it or whatever, like made it like put it together like pretty much democratically. So many of the examples of these, they are very democratic by the means. And there are, of course, many exceptions from that rule. Of course, there are many things that are like much more lush, much more vivid, much better, like proceeded or developed, I would say. And there are things that really merge with artist books so that you can tell the difference. For example, this artist book, it actually looks very much like the, yeah, so in its technique, in its implementation, yeah, it is the, but we can also like consider differently different like lines of meanings or whatever. So on the one hand, so zine is more simple and um, it's more about communication and emotions and the community, subculture, because many of the zines, they come from subcultures actually, not only musical or, like protestful, but also from like kind of artistic subcultures, yeah, like street art or whatever. And at the same time, zines, they form like a subdivision of artist books. So for the Garage Museum that I work for, we collected not only artist books but also these, and as far as I know, colleagues go on doing that. So those things, they may overlap. Sometimes there are things that are not actually made that are, yeah, like if we speak about activist zines or protest zines or whatever, they just don't belong to the art field. Yeah, so they come from different parts of this social work.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say or to ask is that zines sound like something that should go at least in some moments hand in hand with protest movements, with underground movements, with I don't know, counterculture, something like that. So uh,
Not necessarily, it can be everything. For example, I have here a couple of zines lying before me, one of them being just collages about cats. And it takes this kind of typical form for a zine of a sheet of paper, which is uh, folded together in many kinds. So, and those are just nice collages with cats, and I like cats. So, and another one is a zine with the names about zines. Yeah, and
okay.
like for example, moment, mm, my favorites. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I use this one for the thumbnail.
Yeah,
I just had to.
it's very nice. It's very nice. Or another zine that I brought from Belgrade in 2020, 2000, January 2023, before I came to Germany. It was a small printing community in the center of the city, and they also have a residence for artists. And there was an artist from Austria at that time in a residence, and she made this zine on a sheet of paper where she documented her everyday life, like her surroundings, the way it looked, what she
Okay.
did at that time, how the kitchen looked, how the living room looked, who came. I was back then a guest of her. So it was like this kind of simple thing which has nothing to do with the protest. But of course, many of them come also charged or electrified with this kind of stance. It can also be. not necessarily.
Dave Turnbull wrote, "Thank you for the definition, Valery. That is actually one of the clearest I've heard and has made it much clearer for me." So,
Thank you, Dave, for appreciating it because it was not, it was kind of challenging to try to define what is in itself very indefinite. So if I made it clear for you, so I'm really glad. So,
yeah.
mm,
You showed a couple of things related to immigration. Do you have anything more, or
yeah,
because I understood that there should be something more there.
yeah. So another publication by Hanna Muraida, who made those therapeutic postcards, is this German passport, which you can actually unfold. And well, like according to the new regulations, there is a new law that passed in Germany that you can, that well, if you fulfill like necessary conditions, you can apply for German citizenship not after 8 years of living in Germany, but after 5, or if you're really good at that, after 3. And there are different fields, which each of which corresponds to a year, and you can cross the checkbox of the things that you fulfilled in order to obtain a German citizenship, in order to become a German. So you can hang it on the wall, and you can look how far you are, how far you have gone on that race. So that publication I have on the subject. And another one that I like maybe the most, I like all of those publications, but that is the most like emotional for me, mostly charged, is it is a zine of a series of zines made by German-based but Danish-born artists called Asta De, so with a one letter, and she makes, so it is called What is a Home, and it contains photocopies, photographical reproductions of collages, and some utterances, some pronouncements, some ideas or thoughts about what constitutes a home, or a feeling that you are in your home. So those are photocopied version, like for €5 or whatever. She also has the originals, and she makes it in different mediums, like not only just print on paper, but also with some objects in it. I don't know, like, yeah, like photographs, not photocopied, but actual photographs and things like that.
Hmm.
And another one, it's well, the last one, it doesn't have to do directly with experience of migration, but for me, well, it's my personal view of it because it has to do with the German language, and yes, that's the language that I speak the most now. And I came across the works by Stefania Kuschlik, an artist from München, and she collects words, words from different sources, well, mostly from the press, from
Hmm.
magazines or newspapers, according to a certain principle. For example, like words that contain a certain particle, like fish, fish, or whatever. And here she collects, well, not words, but phrases, which contain those parts like it's a primal, like Angst, the primal fear, Schrei, a primal scream, or something that comes from the very origin of the world. And Scheiß, which is English shit, not, and um, and so she collected, dropped it. Sorry, I need to.
Okay. Yeah, Valery, you have to
Yeah,
take a pause,
these are
or
uh, disadvantages of a live stream that other people see if you drop something.
Yeah.
she collected.
Could you please sit a bit back from the camera? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Further back. Yeah.
So
Okay. Thank you.
she collected those kinds of couples. Yeah, so like idea, scheiß idea. Prinzip, scheiß Prinzip. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that is funny. My favorite of hers, things that I can't afford because they're analog made. They're not just these kind of reproductions, but the original cutouts of the newspapers. Those are German compound words. Yeah, so Germans like those very long words that contain like 5 to 10 words together. And she collected many examples of them from the press, and she made it into an album, a kind of Dada album, but like chaotic words, which are very typical of German, and it was very funny sitting with my German friends. They are presented on her website and deciphering all of those words because if you look at them specially, they may be challenging even for native speakers. So that is also kind of that. If I still have time, I'm going to show the last publication that I brought
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
Düsseldorf.
sure, sure. We definitely
Uh,
have time. I understand that you had the main time limit here with delivery or whatever that should come at some moment. So
no,
yeah,
I
but
mean, so if there
yeah,
are any limitations about the streaming time,
no, no, no,
mm,
no.
I also came across this magazine, which is called Arctic, and it is a that's like zoom out, zoom in, and it is a magazine which is made around a certain subject. So there is a subject for each issue of it, and different artists are invited to contribute something for this magazine. So each of the spreads, each page is made by an artist. Like for example, here you can see a small magazine within a magazine. It's like a zine in a magazine, or different things like
Hmm.
that, for example, or in each issue there is something that should be like not just a reproduction or print, but something analog, something objectful. And here there is like this kind of envelope into the issue, and they exist like since 10 years, I suppose, maybe longer.
Hmm.
And I also find it a good idea of this collaborative book, a book that is made together. Well, it is not a book, it's a magazine, but it's like a serial book. Yeah, you can put it metaphorically like that, like which collects those collaborative efforts of different art practitioners, different, I don't know, like typography or book specialists who bring the ideas centered around like certain, I don't know, other idea or whatever.
Interesting. So before we finish, if anyone still have has any questions, please post them, and I will pass them to Valeri. But if somebody would ask you, if I would ask you to recommend a couple of book arts events, which would be the ones that will first come to your mind? Which are, you will visit them and it will be a good immersion into the artist books culture and artist books representation.
Well, I should definitely name at least a couple of them because they all differ in their spirit. Like, for example, in Berlin, there are two artist book fairs. One of them is it is called simply Art Books Berlin. It takes place maybe in November of this year, in the middle of November, and it is focused mostly on the book arts. So there are artists who make those like books objects or books which are very like carefully done with the use of different kinds of papers, different kinds of mediums or like mediums of artistic expression. So those are really like artist books slash book arts, like collectible, sometimes luxuries, bibliophile books. and it is very representative because, as many things, it is international, and there are not only artists from Berlin or I don't know Leipzig or cities around, but also artists from France, from Austria, Spain, and last time I met an American gallerist who brought many wonderful books there. So that is one of them. Another one is taking place right now in Berlin also. It is called Miss Read, and it is very similar in spirit to this Düsseldorf between books because it is focused more on self-publishing practices and zines and different kind of discursive interpretations of book arts and printed matters and different problematics that lies within this field. So between books Düsseldorf, Miss with Berlin. So of course I speak about the German context because I have more access to it.
Hmm.
In France, there is a nice. There are also two nice events. One is about self-publishing in zines, which is called Paris as Art Book Fair. And another one that will be like in the end of November, beginning December, which is a Pages of Page Paris, so Pages Paris. That's more like Art Book Berlin, also with sometimes with the same artist coming there. Yeah, but there are multiple events in different parts of Germany. Like there is a book section as part of book fair in Leipzig. There is the Biennale of Art Books in Weimar, which is like also kind of soon in December, like December 7th or December 9th.
Hmm.
It opens in the city of Goethe. A very famous art book fair takes place in Köln, in Hamburg also. Uh, and I didn't have the chance to explore it, but there are a couple of events in Madrid and in Barcelona. And this year they took place in February. Maybe it's also worth it.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm not really knowledgeable about the English-speaking world. I mean, for England and America, because I don't really have many access to that. But
Hmm.
there should. So Ireland is very famous for it. England, of course.
Hmm.
Yes, and yeah,
Well, yeah, there is a long-standing tradition of making different sorts of books in England,
can
obviously,
imagine.
and in the US it's just such a huge country where there is a lot of place both for hobbies and artists. So yeah, there is a lot of interesting happening there. I just wanted to mention one more thing and sort of plug one of our previous talks. We had a couple of talks with an American, by the way, bookbinder Daniel Kelm, who also makes artist books, but they are on that end as Valery mentioned, which is much more expensive and sophisticated. And he's a highly skilled master bookbinder, among other things. So he does a lot of interesting stuff in that area. I will just post the link for that talk. If any of you are interested in that, please watch it later. And he even goes further into book sculptures, and we had a discussion with him when he started some 30-40 years ago. Among the bookbinders, it was sort of not right to make a book sculpture. They didn't consider it to be a book binding, and they were quite angry sometimes when he presented his book sculptures, and they said to him that it's not a proper way to do things. So yeah, things change, and then
Mhm.
luckily it seems that we're living in times when more things are accepted and more ways to perform art are accepted and exist.
Yeah,
Uh,
if new things not only appear but accumulate, you just can't resist it, and they get accepted. And there are also different ways of seeing a certain thing. Yeah, like for example, a book binding, it can be a typical craft, like as part of book culture, but there are certain kind of bindings or like designing a book as an object that it really aspires to be an art piece. So there are always different ways of like perceiving different things. And
mhm, mhm. Okay, so well, if there are no more questions about artist book, I guess we will be finishing our talk for today. I'm sure. Well, we definitely know that Dave received some answers to his question, and
that's very nice.
that's really nice. And it was a very insightful talk. And thank you very much, Valery, for that. We'll sit a little bit longer here until the stream drops on
Mm.
YouTube and Facebook. I invite you to check our social links in the description of the video. I also posted links to Valeri's Telegram
Yeah,
channel.
it's in Russian,
It's a
but you're free
it,
to use artificial intelligence to translate it because I highlight some of the artist books that I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
find interesting
and there is a lot of visual information there as well, so you can read it even without reading Russian texts. So
um,
yeah, Victoria asks, do you guys ever get into book drama? Sometimes we get in some bookbinding drama over here on our live stream, and sometimes it's really strange what happens in this world, especially if you are talking about some frauds or stolen books. It can get
oh,
messy. It can get messy even on our small live stream. So yeah, there is some drama. Anyway, thanks everybody for being with us today. I hope you liked this talk. If you're watching this in the future, I still hope you like this talk, and consider subscribing to our channel. Consider visiting Valeri's social account, and uh, for now we have a talk scheduled for November. I think it will be 16th of November, and we will be talking about some women who created design bindings in early 20th century, with a
oh,
person who makes a catalog of antiquarian books right now dedicated to this topic. So it should be quite interesting and visually entertaining, and historically interesting and educational. So please wait for an announcement. And then in December we will have another talk with Tom McEwen, a Scottish bookbinder, and it will be quite special because it will be unlike our previous, talking live streams and podcasts. It would be a lesson. So it will be a class by Tom McEwen, and I think it will be dedicated to decoration of bookbinding. So yeah, stay tuned. Maybe
thanks.
subscribe,
Taking advantage
and
of being here live streamed, I invite everyone who happens to be around Frankfurt or Offenbach to come to Klingspor Museum, to our new exhibition, which you can see until November, about women and career tab designers, and to explore the collection. So warmly welcome, heartily welcome everyone.
nice, nice. Thank you for that as well. Um,
Yeah. Thanks
okay,
for inviting me here, and thank you everyone who were here with us during the live stream and who is watching this as a record. It was and it is nice being with you all, and thank you for the questions. Thank you, Dave, for your question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I will be stopping the live stream and